cognitive activities. This is one of those things that I think everybody can obviously jump on board and say cognitive activities, cognitive training are very, very good. One thing that I always find intriguing is, depending upon the researcher that you talk to, they'll say diet's the best, or physical activity is the best, or cognitive activity and training is the best, or sleep. And as I think all of us here understand, it's a compilation of lifestyle. It's everything. And so from a cognitive activity perspective, the whole thing is keeping our brains working, really trying to push the neuroplasticity and the cognitive reserve and the neuroresilience just as we age. So in the event we run into a detrimental issue, be it a stroke or have deposition of neuropathology, anything like that, that we can bounce back or have different avenues for our brain to make those connections. Now, it's so wonderful to talk about this, because I was just actually talking with participants of one of our trials earlier today about one of the programs that's used for cognitive training, and how difficult and frustrating those activities can become. And the reason it's so difficult and I'll say annoying is because the goalposts move every single time. Each time that you do something well, it is going to make it more challenging. And for us as we age, and I'll back up, when we're kids, we expect things to be difficult. We go into math, and math, cool, 2 plus 2. Now all of a sudden we have to learn times tables. Now all of a sudden we're algebra, trig, calc, whatever it may be. We accept these as being difficult. However, when we're older, we move towards things that we excel at and move away from things that are more difficult and challenging, just by the nature of it. And that's just what we do. So trying to be very cognizant about how we interact day to day and how we challenge ourselves is very important. We want to actively move those goalposts, but unfortunately, we don't typically do it. And that's where the cognitive activities and cognitive training can come into play. Learning a new language, it's difficult, but it is going to cause your brain to work tremendously. Learning to play an instrument, difficult. Again, it'll push you a bit. And then, then you have programs that are just going to drive different domains or cognitive abilities, whether or not it's working memory, visuospatial memory, and really help kind of tease out how you're interacting with your day-to-day life. And, it's also, I think, a lot of fun from a cognitive activities perspective. Going out, going to museums, learning about history, learning about artists or composers. It's stuff that you never really think about really pushing yourself in, but it helps you delve into something that is new. And if it's new to you, it's going to help. And so if we think about cognitive age as well, we always think about just school, for instance. Let's take Annie, for instance. Annie did undergrad, then she did medical school, then she did residency, and then she rode this line, right, for a while. And a lot of people will enter their career and then may not push themselves further beyond that. And so once you stop pushing yourself, that's when you're going to potentially start to slide. And like Annie, you push yourself and do something totally different, totally brand new. She's having to learn, various things. She wrote a book. She's running a business. She's learning about all these various things that are new to her, that then allow her brain to function in a different way and drive things better. And so, that's the one piece of advice, is doing things new and different and challenging, picking up a new career after you retire, or volunteering after you retire. I appreciate, put the work in and, work hard, play hard, and especially in retirement, but still challenge yourself in ways that are meaningful, just as you're moving along. So
one word that I tell myself, and tell me if this is helpful, is for people to think about this, is I use the word, I think of the word threshold. Where is the threshold, and am I always pushing the threshold? And basically, I guess like you're saying, do I feel as I'm doing something cognitively kind of dumb because it's so new to me, right? And
Yep,
that's how I
yep.
know I'm at the threshold. I feel dumb. You know, I'm there. I'm at the threshold.
It
Is that where we
is,
want to
and
be?
it's so frustrating. There's one of the games called I forget what it's called. There's one called Route 66, and there's a bubble game, and bubbles show up on the screen, and then all of a sudden all these other bubbles show up, and you have to track these bubbles as they start moving. And I started that, and I got all 4, and I said, awesome, I'm smart. And I went to 5, and I was like, wow, I'm still smart. And I got to 6, did it well. 7, cool. Got to 8, boom, missed it. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm a little disappointed. Then it went to 7, I missed it. I was like, whoa, 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 what's happening? And then it went to 6, and I was like, oh no. And I was like, well, I thought I was smart. Then it just slipped all the way back to 4 because I got so anxious about missing those on the high end that it then deteriorated, as I was progressing. So yes, that aspect of being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and also understanding that this is challenging and it's meant to be challenging. It's going to be frustrating because it's new and different. I mean, I myself right now am working on understanding omics, metabolomics, proteomics, genetic predispositions. It is challenging. And I look at papers and I have no idea what I'm reading because it's so far over my head. But I understand at some point I'll understand it. And so I push myself to delve a bit more and learn a bit more. And my God, I sit there with a manuscript and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exhausting. It is mentally exhausting to do this. But I know it's going to pay off in the end. And I also know that it's going to benefit me from a educational perspective.
I'm so happy to hear that because that's how I feel every time I look at the brain supplement studies, which I recently did a big review on. I thought my brain was going to break. It was just so complicated.
Yes.
But it
I've
takes
done so
time,
many.
and if you stick with it, you come to some level of clarity,
Mhm.
and then your brain is at a different level when it comes to that topic. It's learning.
Yeah, and it's so nice because then you start making little connections here and there. And for a lot of individuals that I've talked to, whenever they talk about the brain training that they're doing and the visuospatial or the working memory, and that their day-to-day recall has gotten better, or they're remembering where they're placing things throughout their house. And we talk about distractibility and how distractibility can really make it feel like you are slipping cognitively. But if you're very diligent and thoughtful about your day-to-day practices, you'll feel just more in tune with where you are. And I mean, if I purposely and volitionally put my keys in the same place every single day. If they do not go in that place, they might as well be lost. But that's because I don't want to have to think about where I'm putting my keys. And so I could understand why if somebody moves their keys day to day, that they would feel, potentially impaired because it's moving. It's an abnormal, place that you're dealing with. So it's removing barriers from your life while also challenging yourself.
And I love what you say about making yourself feel uncomfortable. When you're starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable in a topic or something you're reading or listening to on a podcast, you're in a good place for building cognitive reserve. Because if you're just reading things you already know and learning things that you already learned, and you're not really building any new neural connections.
Right.
So it's good. That word uncomfortable really is a good one to remember.